know, I started playing bridge when I was in the final year of high school, and that must have been when I was about 18. My parents both played, and if I had ever played the way they play, I wouldn't be here today. My father had an unusual system in that if he refused to bid slams, and if anybody bid 4-no trump Blackwood with him, he would pass, which was not usually successful. I started off playing with John Scanlon, who was about a year older than I and was also at McMaster University, and whose parents played every tournament in Ontario. And from them, when John eventually moved to Quebec, and I took up playing with Harry Bork, who was the best player in Hamilton, and a very, very crafty card player. He played the dummy very well, and he also taught me a lesson, I might say. I was playing with him, and I was the dummy, and he was in 1-no trump, which had no play, except they made a bad opening lead, and now he had 9 tricks. He had, 7 tricks. And then they made another bad play, and he had 8 tricks, which was constituted a top board as far as I was concerned. And at this point, Harry stopped and started to study the dummy, and he looked up at his opponents, and he said, "You know," he said, "I could then play you, but mine partner won't let me," pointing at me because I made faces. And I learned after that not to make faces. When I played with the late Agnes Gordon, who lived in Buffalo but was born in Canada, and she was unquestionably, in my mind, the best woman player anywhere around, including Canada and the United States. And we joined up for the to play the national mixed pairs, and we won it with the highest score that's ever been scored in the ACBL history in match point events. And she was a magnificent player, and I was a delight to play with, because I used to castigate her because she wouldn't go to bed early at night. And we were doing very well in this mixed pair event, and I said, "Agnes, would you please get to bed?" "Oh, just don't bother me," said Agnes. I'll go." So the next day I played with Agnes, and when the tournament was over, but before the scores were out, I said, "I'm sorry about that board 14, Agnes. I should have done this and that." "Oh," said Agnes, "if only you'd got to bed earlier." And she was right. Well, the one I got along with the best was probably either Doug Drury, after whom they named the Drury Convention. He did it playing with me, because if we didn't develop this check back to find out whether I was fooling around or whether I had a good hand, we would have had a lot of trouble. So when the bidding went pass, and I opened the bidding and he bid 2 clubs, that was forcing, and if I had a reasonable bid, I bid accordingly, but if I had a bad hand, I signed off. And it's played widely by players today. And it was just protection against poor Drury having to do backflips to keep us out of trouble. I had won back-to-back national championships in the men's pairs with Doug Drury, and at that point Doug moved to California, and Sammy Kehillah arrived, a nomad from nowhere, and He and I started to play together, and he was a very, very good player, except that he knew nothing about match point games, and it was a torture playing with him in match point games until he realized that you had to compete with in certain situations. And then he became very good. He finally won the nationals, not playing with the national pair championship, not playing with me. I don't know how many years of torture it was for Sammy, but it was a pleasant period for me. He was a chess player, I was a poker player. And it was an interesting combination. Sammy's bids could be relied upon and mine could not. And that's what made the partnership work. I had a tendency to psych, which means that I didn't have the values for whatever it was I was doing. And the Italian on my right opened the bidding with a diamond, and I doubled, and his partner redoubled, and Sammy bid something or other. And they wound up in 5 diamonds, and when the dummy came down, Belladonna of the Italian team rolled his eyes because he could see they should be in 6. Because he had to take one of 2 finesses. He had either one worked, but both finesses went into Sammy's hand because Sammy had the 2 cards, and all you could make was 5. And Belladonna said, "Oh," he says, I smell psych. I know Murray. So I bid only 5 times. I know cards bad place. So that was fine. That was well and done. Our partners wound up in 6 diamonds down 1, and Belladonna and his partner wound up in 5 diamonds making because of my psych. So a few rounds later, we're up against Belladonna and Averelli again, and this time the bidding goes pass to me. And at that point, the audience in the viewgraph room, this is being viewgraphed, was speculating that we would lose on this board because Belladonna and Averelli would reach 7. At 7, no trump was cold, and our partners had got only the 6 no trump. So the bidding came to me, and I had 6 hearts to the queen and out. That was all. So I opened the bidding with a heart because I know the Italians have this system, you know. And the next hand bid 3 no, Italian bid 3 no trump, and it went pass, and Belladonna rolled his eyes and passed. So instead of reaching 7 no trump, they were playing it in 3 no trump, making 7 because of my psych. At which point Kehillah leaned over to Belladonna and says, "What's the matter, Giorgio? Nose not working so well today?" I don't think any one aspect of the game appeals to me more than any other. I just absolutely love the game of bridge.